Claire looked at the black chip in her hand, having turned in the white and gray one to one of the workers after dropping off the cart. Shaking her head, she thought about the Catwoman named Trilly, who hadn't said anything as they left. I guess there's no need to say farewells when we'll likely see her again after taking the job again. Claire couldn't help but grin at how few words the worker had for them during the entire job. I guess we need to turn these chips to the guild? Bill flicked the chip into the air, catching it on its way down. Hannah had the chip in front of her face as they made their way to the guild. There was a look of accomplishment on her face, having finished the job. Seeing the look in her friend's eyes, Claire had a similar feeling even though it wasn't their first difficult job. There had been the armored bear they took down with Chelsea and her friends. For some reason, this job feels a little different, she commented out loud. I know the feeling, Cammy agreed. Don and I had taken on other jobs, but this one really felt like something different. She looked at Don for his thoughts. Don nodded at Cammy's words. I think it's because we got a better feel of how large and complex this world is. Walking with their group, Mindy's group was quiet. Raising an eyebrow at seeing how silent Mindy's group was, Claire asked, Is there something the matter? Opening her hand to reveal the chip, Mindy looked at the wooden disc. It just feels surreal. She looked at Claire and the others. Before coming to this underground city, it felt like we had been running from one place to another, gripping the chip. But now, I feel like we've really progressed to the next level. Her voice slowly became heavy with emotions. Jimmy nodded at Mindy's words. Before society fell, I was just some guy at a part-time job. But now, I feel like I've accomplished something I have never been able to do in my past. His eyes watered slightly. He stopped walking to use a hand to wipe away his tears. Seeing an older man be so vulnerable made Claire unsure what to do, but a part of her could understand what it could feel like. I'm sure his life wasn't an easy one, Claire thought to herself. For once, we won't be thought of as the trash of society. Chris patted Jimmy on the back, likely empathizing with the older man. When Claire looked to Carl, Todd, and Lucas, they had a similar emotional expression as Jimmy. The difference was how they were better at holding it in. Hannah brushed away a tear that formed, seeing the new adventurers get so emotional. Taking a deep breath, Mindy gained control of emotions. I'd like to thank all of you for being so patient with us. Even though we had frozen against those rock lizards, none of you had treated us harshly. Mindy had a grateful smile as she addressed Claire's group. Abby shook her head. You guys should feel proud. I don't know many people who would have been able to fight against the reasonable and natural instinct to flee from danger. Instead, each one of you took a step forward, towards something that could inflict great pain and suffering on you. That's not something that can be brushed aside. Don and Cammy nodded in agreement. You'd be surprised at the number of trained soldiers that can't overcome their own fears, like your group had. It's not a simple thing, Cammy said encouragingly. Hearing the kind words, Minnie's smile began to twitch as tears began streaming down her face. Seeing the older woman crying, Claire walked over and gave Mindy a hug. Behind her, Hannah followed and joined the hug. With both Claire and Hannah hugging her, Mindy began crying louder. It was clear that her emotions had a mixture of relief and vindication, that their efforts hadn't been a waste. Bill became emotional as he looked at Mindy's group. He turned away slightly to hide. "You're not going to start crying too, right?" Abby teased a friend.